All right, guys, what is up? It is the 75th installment of the Unplugged Alpha podcast series. Tonight, we're going to do something a little bit different. Pretty much the entire show's going to be call-ins. I've got a survey which I kind of posed to social media over the last week or two, and it netted some pretty interesting feedback. So let's hop right into this. I'm going to drop the join link here. Only join if you're going to be answering the question of tonight's show, which is essentially here. I'll put it up on the screen just so we can kind of get started on this, because I have a feeling we're going to be busy with this most of the night. Let's see here. Present, share screen. So I put this on the Twitter tab and on the community tab and all that sort of stuff. And the question is, men, there's two 30-year-old identical twin sisters, both gorgeous. Who would you rather be in a relationship with? A divorced single mom of 3 with a notch count of 2, or her twin that spent her 20s partying, traveling, and racking up a notch count of 50 plus? This is what most guys seem to deal with when it comes to dating, especially if they're dating about 30 plus, which happens to be most of the guys that call into my show and most of the guys watching. You're kind of left with two options, right? Sometimes you've got option 1, which is a combination of option 1 and 2. But I wanted to pose this just simply to get feedback from you guys on what you would pick. I wasn't sure what the answers were going to be. I was kind of surprised that most people, and the result was, let me just see if I can blow this up so you guys can see it a little bit better. The result was 61% of guys voted for a divorced single mom with a small notch count versus a single gal, but with a whole bunch of notches. So men are apparently so disgusted by female promiscuity, they would pick a single mom over a gal with no kids, but had been with a whole bunch of guys. So I wanted to give you guys an opportunity tonight to sort of call in and feedback on this. Of course, offer a better solution. There's no third option. It's one or the other. So you need to pick one or the other, and then tell me why. And then I want you to provide me with a potential better solution as you see it, that it may exist. So let's remove that from the screen. I see I've got a few friends that are already jumping in here. I'm going to drop the join link in the live chat on YouTube, and we'll get started on this right away. That is pinned at the top. So all you have to do is click that from YouTube, and you can share your experience. So let's give it to 50 Shades to kick off with and see what he's got. What is up, my friend?
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. So
Cool.
the poll question, my friend, is there's two identical 30-year-old twin sisters, both gorgeous. Who would you rather be in a relationship with? I'm talking long-term, not short-term, not a plate. This is a long-term relationship. She's a divorced single mom with 3 young kids, notch count of 2. Or her twin that spent her 20s racking up a big notch count, partying, traveling, and has probably been with about 50 plus guys.
Ouch. That's a great question. I want to know who came up with it. They deserve a pat in the back, because it could be one of the greatest questions ever in the in this field. Me personally, probably the mom, because the expectations of the party girl are going to be stratospheric.
Okay. And is there a better solution to this?
God, well, we all know what the better solution is better men. Better men would not result in this situation.
I would have to agree with that. I think that if you had better options, and you wouldn't have to, would you say this is what, 80, 90, 70% of like the dating sphere out there that you normally would deal with?
Well,
out of these two options?
Probably. Yeah. It's because of weaker societal males over a generational period that has, led to these situations.
I'd also argue that it's because women tend to be forgiven as well for a lot of their past. They get a free pass on a lot of things in lives too, it seems.
Yeah. But,
okay.
Here's my thing. The second one with the high notch count and all the party years, she's going to settle down for, beta bucks. But a couple of years into that, Chad's going to come rolling out of the gym while she's coming out of Whole Foods some Saturday afternoon, and she's going to go right back and hit that pipe again.
Yeah, that's a big problem that women have when they have difficulty forming a monogamous pair bond to a guy. If they've already been with a bunch of guys, it's like, oh, if number 51 and she settles down with him and things aren't going her way, number 52 is very easy for her to move on to. It's just it's a pattern, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
Oh, completely.
Okay. All right. I got a bunch of guys that are starting to pile in here that want to chime in. 50, thanks for hopping in. I appreciate you sharing some thoughts on this. All right. Let's give it to Moff. Moff's in the house. What's up? What is up?
What's happening?
How you doing, man?
Good, man.
So I'll just repeat the question again, just for those of the folks that have come a little later. So you're out there dating. You've been spinning plates. There's two identical 30-year-old twin sisters, both gorgeous. Who would you rather be in a relationship with long term? Divorced single mom of 3 with a notch count of 2. Let's say, she married and stayed with the same guy for 10 years. And you got the option of her twin sister who spent her 20s partying, traveling, running around and racking up a fairly large count of 50 plus. Who would you choose? Because that seems to be the dichotomy most guys seem to be facing right now when they're dating, right?
Yeah, and let's be clear. I know you said this at the beginning, but there is no third option. There's no option for guys to come on the show and say, I wouldn't choose either. Like, that's not a thing. So you got to be within the parameters of the question. I think it's a promiscuous, childless woman, man. I mean, I think that your average chick nowadays is 100 notch count is a walk in the park for a lot of women, especially attractive ones. I made a joke earlier where I was like, some guy asked, like, well, we talk about 100 or 25. I was like, 25 basically is virginity. So let's just call it 100. But when you talk about the baggage and you talk about all the extra responsibility and all the additional headaches, it's going to be a headache either way. But I think you got to just go with the lesser of the two evils here. And I think that's just somebody that if you want to have kids, if you want to not wind up taking care of somebody else's kids, I think a promiscuous single woman is going to be the way to go. I found in my experience that, single mothers that I've run into or spoken to or maybe even had short flings with, I've always found them to be more entitled and more with higher inflated senses of egos than just a random chick who spent her 20s sport bagging, basically. Mm-hmm. And far more along the lines of, I know what I'm worth. I'm not going to settle for less. And this.
What do you think that is?
So I think it's a really good question as to why their ego is so inflated. Mm-hmm. I think it has a lot to do with they've now gotten, maybe it's because they've had their kids and they've sort of gotten past the whole beta buck side of their hypergamy, and now they're right back to looking for alpha fucks again. Mm-hmm. Because they've achieved that sort of, I've had my kids, I've done what I need to do, I've reproduced, and now but they've also, I think, more likely gone through a period where they're not with their child's father for a reason, and that reason is most likely because they left. So now they're looking at men as men are inadequate. I had a guy that I thought was going to be my forever. He's the father of my children. I have multiple men who are fathers of my children, and they turned out to not be shit. So I've gone through all these men, and I've given them my best years, and I've given them my body, and I've given them children, and they've turned out to be POSs, in mm-hmm. her words. So I think more so they perceive a man not living up to his full expectation, because not every woman that just spends her 20s sport banging is going to think every dude she sleeps with is going to be the one. But mm-hmm. if she's willing to have kids with this guy and she says this guy is going to be the guy, and then he turns out to be that sort of, loser in tinfoil instead of the knight in shining armor, I think there's a higher level of resentment that comes as a byproduct of that.
Okay. All right. And what percentage of gals on the dating marketplace do you think fit into one of these two categories?
Wow. I mean, it's more than 50%. I would say it's between 60 and 70. It depends on the age range. Yeah. I mean, the older you get, the higher proclivity you're going to have as far as single mothers and women that have high notch counts. But You got to deal with your own sets of problems if you're going to date younger too. Usually it's not these as much, but if you're a dude that's dating late 20s, anywhere above that, you're dealing with, usually it's a pretty safe bet. You're going to run into mostly these types of women.
Got it. Okay. Appreciate the feedback. Thanks, Moff. See you, brother. Peace. All right. Got a few other guys waiting to hop in. Let me grab the super chat real quick. He says, what are your thoughts on displays of public affection? I was just in a part of the world where they are highly discouraged. Yes, it is an insecurity, but it seems that they are often done to provoke. I was having a conversation with somebody about this. I think I could have sworn it was Jaren, where having displays of public affection is not acceptable where they were. Look, I think, when in Rome, right? If the norm where you're at has an expectation that you behave a certain way, you don't want to stand out in that regard, especially if it's not home turf. You can run into all sorts of problems when you try to stand out and do things that are in violation of cultural norms where you're at, where you're traveling. So, your displays of affection can be done elsewhere. They don't always have to be in public, is my take. Speaking of Jaren, we got him next. Let's throw him in. Hey, buddy. Got Echo. Just have to mute the show.
Yep. Just muted my TV. How's it go? Here, hold on. I've got an old school stereo. Let me turn it off.
No problem. Go ahead, man. That's what happens when you've got two of the lines running at the same time.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Yeah, I have vintage stereo, so I thought I could control it from the TV, but apparently that is not the case.
Was that you that we were talking to about public displays of affection? You were traveling somewhere and it was frowned upon, or was I talking to somebody else?
We've talked about that before, not too much. Where I'm at currently, I don't see it as much as I did back in the day, but I have been to countries where it's kind of looked down upon. So like you said, you really just got to follow the lay of the land. And then if you do that, you're normally okay. Where I'm at now,
stay out of trouble that way.
Yeah, I went out the other night, and a lot of the younger kids do it because most people here live with their families until they're married. So that introduces some new considerations into the equation. I live by myself, so I have no reason to do that. If I want to make out someone, just get the chick back to the house.
So let me pose a question to you then. So There's two identical gals, both 30 years old. They're twin sisters, both gorgeous. Who would you rather be in a long-term relationship with? A divorced single mom of 3, small kids with a notch count of 2. She married and had children with the second guy she was with, or her twin who spent her 20s partying, traveling, and racking up a notch count of 50 plus.
I had to give this one a little bit of thought at first. I know that a lot of guys, they say, well, neither would be ideal. Obviously, that would be ideal, but this is a question for a nice debate. So I think after thinking more so, I'm firmly planted in the team horror category, and then I'll break down, if you give me a minute here, why. Okay. So first, we need to define relationship. A lot of guys in the space, when they think relationship or LTR, they think of a two-way monogamy type model. I talk about this all the time. With a girl that's a higher notch count, the one-way monogamy thing probably won't work. But again, neither is the ideal option. But in this scenario, the way I answer, I'll do it based on the way I date, which is like an MLTR with FWB. MLTR is multiple long-term relationship. FWB is friends with benefits type model. So it's a hybrid type model. Keep that in mind for my answer. Now, I understand why guys would do the divorce woman type thing. There are some pros and cons. The lower notch count's obviously more desirable. Could be an option if you have kids of your own, like you're a single dad, you have custody of them, and you want like a Brady Bunch type situation. If the kids are older, then that could be a good thing. Like a girl, that happens all the time here. Girls will get married real young. They're like 32, maybe to 35 years old, and their kids are already out of the house, or the kids are studying in a different country off with the dad. So you can get some really hot, classy chicks that, yeah, they're technically single moms. They're not single moms in the sense where they're living off the government or they have low-paying jobs. They're usually pretty well taken care of, and they're from higher class families, but they married an alpha and the guy ran off with some other chick and the guy takes care of the kids. I've come across that quite a bit here. So I can see that being ideal under those certain circumstances. However, if you're talking like the US Canadian type crowd, you got to be careful, especially if you cohabitate. We all know this, that once you introduce a male into the family who's not of the bloodline, that is one of the most dangerous things you can do for your own kids. If you have kids, if you don't have kids, well, guess what? Now you do have kids. You're at risk of having to pay child support potentially in a lot of these Western nation. So you definitely don't want to do that. And again, this is all just in hopes of why most guys get into LTRs, which is just for unlimited access, or they think it's unlimited access to unlimited poon, which usually dries up metaphorically and literally after a while.
So follow-up question to you on this is, this seems to be what most men have to choose from on the sexual marketplace today when they're dating. What percentage of women do you think this makes up in your demographic where you're at in Mexico?
Ooh, in Mexico, it's a little different. I'd say maybe
Between
30
the two over here.
Yeah, I'd say 30-40% between the two here. My view is kind of warped too, because I hang out in circles. I hang out with single girls. I go out in places where people are single and looking to mingle. I don't really hang out. There's a lot of conservative people here, but I'm not necessarily in those circles. So I don't go to mass every Sunday. I don't go to the types of events or hang out in the circles where it's like really super traditional family. So that, being honest, that kind of skews my view a bit. I hang out in
Are there a
trendy
lot
areas.
less single moms in Mexico, or is it that there's a lot less promiscuous women in Mexico, or is it just an even balance of both?
It's kind of a class thing. In the higher class, you don't really see single moms. When in the lower class, you do. I think that's pretty much how it is worldwide, where if you're lower socioeconomic status, then actually having kids could be seen as a money-making type venture, because a lot of times they'll go out, they'll work their low-paid jobs. But if you have 5 kids, for example, all that money gets pooled back into the family, whereas the wealthier people, and again, I think this is worldwide, wealthier people typically have less kids.
Got it.
Unless they're uber wealthy, then they have a ton. But let me get to my pros for the hose, and I'll get on out of here real quick. So obviously hose, little less able to pair bond. But both the single mom and notch count chicks, they're likely to have some sort of baggage. So, and usually it's about the same. Moff identified it. The divorce chicks are a lot of times they're usually a little more entitled, and they're a little more kind of pushy in the relationship because they need you to come in and be that resource provider or provisioner. So that causes some issue too. A lot of the high notch count girls, they really don't care. And like the way I'm dating now, I really don't care either. I'm doing kind of the multiple thing. I'm looking for like a main chick or maybe higher quality MLTR type candidates. But in the meantime, like Rich, you say this all the time, you have to go through a bunch of the S before you can get the quality. So regardless if you're actually looking for whores or not, you're going to come across them. So I always say, like, might as well have some fun. In choosing availability, availability is a big thing too. Is she attracted to, and is she available? The divorced mom, sometimes they're not as available. The kids will always come first. Guys that have dated divorced moms, single moms, they know these things. But if you're like in an FWB MLTR type scenario, I say the girl that's more available, fun, high notch count, definitely go for that. And then as a bonus, a lot of times the high notch count girls, they're usually open to bring it, or more open to bringing other girls into the mix. Whereas the divorce chick, maybe not so much. You know, she has the kids to contend with. She might be worried about her reputation, although, you know, she's a single mom. Then at some point she kind of gave that up to a degree. But again, overall, neither is really an ideal choice. But for me and the way I run my dating life right now, I'm firmly planted in team whore.
Okay. Thanks for that, Jaren.
All right.
Appreciate it, man. Cheers. All right. So that's so team promiscuity, team horror, as Jaren called it, seems to be still a favorite. But according to the poll results, guys were still put off quite a bit by promiscuous women, and most of them picked the single mommy. All right, let's keep going. We got Trent here that wants to chime in. So Trent, I'm going to pose a question to you again, my friend. There are identical 30-year-old twin sisters, both gorgeous. Who would you rather be in a long-term relationship with? Divorced single mom of 3 with a notch count of 2. She married the second guy that she was with in her early 20s. Or her twin sister that spent her 20s partying, traveling, and racking up notches with a bunch of guys over 50. Which one do you pick, and why?
You know, I'd say I go with the higher notch count woman in my case.
Okay, why is that?
Well, partially. So just for some context, I'm in my mid-20s currently, and when I was younger, I dated a single mom with 3 children, kind of the low-hanging fruit. Before I was even red-pilled or anything. So I'm glad I didn't commit. It's actually my parents who told me, like, you cannot be spending your time with this lady. She's just there, very, even with having 3 kids, she had the baby rabies, as I would put it. But I think with the higher notch count, that's most kind of women around my age anyway. And if I was an LTR, I'd probably be dating non-monogamously. So
what do you think the average notch count of gals in your dating range is where you live right now?
So I'm in Minnesota, so I would say like in the metro area, girls in the 20s to 30s. I would say it's probably up in the 30 to 40 guys.
That's
Because
pretty
I knew
normal.
girls in college that were 20 plus by 19.
20 plus by 19. Okay. So you're in Jaren's camp. You're in Team Horror then.
Yes.
Yeah. So see, that's interesting. Anybody that would have dated a single mom, I think, would also pick the latter. I'm gonna tell you guys what my thinking is. On this towards the end. Once we get through everybody, is there a better solution to this? So let me ask you this: so, what percentage of the gals in your dating marketplace fall into these two categories? Single mommies or promiscuous women? Like, is it like it sounds like it's quite a lot if the average notch count in your area is like 30, 40.
Yeah, I mean, in the 30s, I don't see as many single moms. They're kind of towards the latter end of their 30s, early 40s. So most girls my age that I know that are dating don't have kids.
Mhm.
So I'm more used to seeing those with a higher notch count than single moms. But
What are we
then
talking here?
again,
50, 60, 70%?
say it again.
50, 60, 70%? Like, what do you think the percentage is?
Yeah, I would say
From
probably
experience.
60, 70. Yeah, I'd be around that range.
Interesting. Okay. All right, Trent, thanks for popping in, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Cheers. All right. If we have time towards the end, guys, I may take some extra questions as well. But I want to stay on topic here for the show and give as many people an opportunity to hop in. I'm just going to make some room. So if I just kick you from the back studio, just go to YouTube and watch over there. It just makes room because I only have room for 10 people to hop into the green room area. So I'm just going to kick a few guests waiting there. Nothing personal. All right, let's give it to Wahlberger. All right.
How you doing, Rich?
Wahlberger, how are you doing? You got a lot of background noise, so I'm just going to mute you for a second.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'm not sure if you can move somewhere else where it's a little bit quieter. So the question is, you've got the option of dating two women. A divorced single mom of 3 with a notch count of 2. She married the second guy that she was with in her early 20s. Or her twin sister who spent her entire 20s partying, traveling, and racking up a large notch count of 50 plus. Which one do you pick and why? You're going to have to unmute or here, I can do it for you. Go ahead.
Yeah, Rich, it's all about the compliancy of the woman, as you have stated many times. But from my experience, and I have an experience, and sometime I'd like to very much tell you about it and show how much benefit I've had with what you've had to say. But from my experience, the fact of the matter is that I would go for the woman with a higher notch count, very likely, in that when you have got kids, or she has kids, there's no replacing the bio dad. And that's a good thing in society altogether. People need to realize that. So dads stay involved. But there's no replacing that bio dad. He's got to be involved. And if not, like, they're just going to be embittered to you, regardless of how good you are to them. So,
Okay.
But if you have an incredibly compliant woman either way, then you go with that one. But the only differential is what you said. If it's just kids, I'd go with the notch count.
Got it. Okay, so we got another one for Team Horror. I'm going to let you go, Wahlberger, because your audio is not so hot with the noisy background, but thank you.
Rich, thank you for all your help, man. I appreciate it. Love to chat with you another time. I got a long,
You're welcome.
good story to tell you.
All right, man. Pop in next time when you got some better sound. Thanks. All right. So that's interesting because the live call-ins are not reflecting what the survey results were. The survey results were in favor of the single mommies, but the live call-ins are in favor of the notch counts. I think the guys that are calling in seem to be hitting it from a angle of experience, and anybody that's dated a single mom generally stays away from them when they've had bad experience, which is like all the time. So anybody trying to rationalize that, I guess, was probably doing it with the survey results. But I'm going to take a look at some of the comments on those in a little bit too. I've got a few more people that want to chime in here. Let's give Andy a stab at this. Andy, how you doing, brother?
Rich, what's up, my brother?
Good. So let me pose you the question again. So men, all right, we've got 2 identical 30-year-old twin sisters, both gorgeous. Who would you rather be in a relationship with? You've got a divorced single mom with 3 small kids, notch counted 2, married the second guy that she was in her early 20s, or her twin sister that spent her 20s partying, traveling, racking up a large count of 50 plus. Which one do you pick for a long-term relationship?
Easy. I'm with Jaren and Chris all the way. Team Horror by far. Simple reasons
that?
are as such. Simple reasons are as such. Both you and I had the single mommy experience. We know you will never ever matter, and a very frustrating thing is they never have any time to do anything. Even if you are out with them and it's just the two of you, her babysitting time is limited. My mom's calling. She wants to know when are you coming home, and you got to stop what you're doing and go. At least with the promiscuous woman, your time isn't so limited and constrained by the children, and you have a better opportunity at that LTR of succeeding because those children aren't in the way and blocking the success of the relationship because of just who they are. They're kids. They take a lot of time. And like you said, you never matter. You do not matter. They want you strictly for resource and to clean up the mess they made with their lives. Is there a better alternative? I would say go down to your low 20s if you're high value enough. Problem is one, they want to go out constantly. Two, they want to stay out till 3 in the morning when they do go out. And then I guess the third one is eventually they're going to want a baby. So, I mean, right now, I just started to date and see a 35-year-old woman, very, very pretty, no kids, never been married, nice job. As far as her past, I'm going to be honest with you, Rich, I really don't want to know how many guys you've slept with. It doesn't really matter. As long as you don't have an STD or something like that, it's really none of my concern, because by this time, you're going to have a lot of sexual partners. Both Chris and Jaren brought that up already. I mean, they're going to be up there. Moff was right on, but the 25, you're basically a virgin, unfortunately.
Let me ask you a follow-up. Based on your experience in your sexual marketplace where you live, like in that demographic, what percentage of women do these two categories represent? So the single moms or the promiscuous ladies. Sometimes, single moms are also the promiscuous ladies too, by the way. But what percentage of available women does this represent where you live?
I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's 80-20. 80% of your women, especially on dating apps, they all have kids. And I even put on my profile the last time I did one, single moms, get to stepping. Go ahead, smash that big X at the bottom of the screen. I'm not taking care of Billy and Timmy. And we already know they're your, quote, whole world, and they come first. We get that. You don't have to tell us. Okay, I hope. So, yes, it's about 80-20.
Okay, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rich.
All right, let me grab Nick here and see what he's got for us. Nick, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Rich, what's up?
Good. So the question again is, there's two identical 30-year-old twin sisters, both absolutely gorgeous. Who would you rather be in a relationship with? A divorced single mom with 3 small kids with a notch count of 2. She married the second guy in her early 20s. Or her twin sister that spent her 20s partying, traveling, and racking up notches with about 50-plus guys. Which one would you pick for a long-term relationship?
Yeah, I'll answer that. If I may, I want to say thank you first for your ideas to get a motorcycle and join a dojo. It's been awesome, so thank you. And
Cool.
now your answer. I haven't been with many girls, but the ones I have been with, neither of them had a notch count higher than 1. So thinking everything above 1 is kind of gross for me right now. And pair bonding reason is a good reason. So I would have to say the single mommy. But again, I'm kind of young. So I don't think it's relevant right now. But if I would have, I live in Israel.
Okay, so in the dating marketplace where you live, what percentage of available women are represented by the two choices that I put in the survey? So single moms or promiscuous women, like what do they account for?
I don't think there are a lot of single moms, but I do see a lot of promiscuous women, especially in their party years when they're young.
What do you think the percentage of women in your dating marketplace represents that, though?
I didn't understand your question.
Well, like if there's 100 available women in your dating marketplace, what percentage of those 100 women fall into the promiscuity category if single moms aren't that prevalent?
Promiscuity category out of 100, I would say it's very legitimized. Even older women, they told her can go get it and do whatever they want. So I would say maybe even up to 50, like 40%, maybe even up to 50.
Okay, so it's pretty common there too. All right, thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rich. Have a good one.
All right, let me get out a couple of these super chats and we'll keep with the call-ins. Andrew says, Now, what about a trans woman for this option? I don't know what that means, dude. That wasn't part of the survey questions. DL Saint, super chat, great topic. Thanks. I'll grab you in a sec. I see you in the waiting area. Let me see here. What else we got? All right, let's throw this over to Josh here. Josh, how you doing, buddy?
Great, thanks. How are you?
Good. So I'm going to pose you the question. You've got two identical twin sisters, both absolutely gorgeous. Who would you rather be in a relationship with? One of them is a divorced single mom of 3 small kids with a notch count of 2. She married her husband very young age, around 20. Or her twin sister that committed to nobody, spent her 20s partying, traveling, and racking up a notch count of 50. Who would you choose?
I'm going with the single mommy on this one.
Okay, explain.
I think it's circumstantial. So for me, I have 2 children. My son is 4, my daughter is 8. And so I already have children in my life. I love kids. So for me, I think it would be difficult bringing the promiscuous woman into my life because I'd be worried about what sort of values she'd teach my children, especially my daughter. So the whole idea of the single mommy only having the 2 notch count is more appealing because I think loyalty is really important. I think in terms of long term, the lack of loyalty from the very promiscuous woman is going to be problematic, like extremely problematic. So
Makes
I really
sense.
think if
So I was going to ask you, did you read my book?
I did, yes.
In the chapter on single moms, did that resonate?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. Good. Interesting. Yeah. No, I just wanted to see if you had the full frame from the perspective of which one you would pick, but I could see exactly why you would do that given your circumstances. All right, man. Thanks for chiming in. Appreciate it, Josh.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
All right. Ciao. All right. DL Saint. What's up, my man?
What's good, brother? How you feeling?
Good. So I'm going to throw you the question. Just keep it consistent. So you've got 2 gorgeous, absolutely identical twin sisters. Who would you rather be in a relationship with? They're both 30. A divorced single mom of 3. They're all small kids. Notch count of 2. She married her husband very young age of 20. Or her twin sister that ran around in her 20s, partying, committed to no one, traveled, and racking up a notch count of 50. Who would you rather be in an LTR with?
I take the high body count at this age. Definitely take the high body count. As a younger guy, if I were a young man in my mid 20s, early 30s, not done the work I already did, had all that, maybe I would consider the single mom, thinking that she'll be able to pair bond at some point. You know what I mean? But I would definitely have to take the higher body count.
Okay. Where you live, what percentage of women represent in these 2 categories on the entire sexual marketplace?
I'm down here with Brother Moff. I'm down here in Tampa, and I grew up in Cincinnati. I would say that just making up numbers here, I would say 40 to 45% of women that I encountered today fit into the high body count category, and I'm considering high. Yeah, them too. And I'm saying, and when I say high body count, I'm talking anything over 20 bodies. I'll consider a higher body count, so 20 and up.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I wonder, you know what? I'll read that as a survey. What do you consider a large body count? Because I think some people's perspective would be different than others, right? For sure. Absolutely.
And it depends on what generation you come out. Being a Gen Xer, coming up in Cincinnati, Ohio, I don't think let's put it this way. I've never been with a virgin. I'm 52 years old now. And I started as a real young guy. I started in my teens. So for me, body count didn't mean anything because in our minds, we're like, yo, all these women are smashing. There's no such thing as a virgin anymore. Now, that's me coming from the world that I came from. I would say my counterparts who came from maybe a more affluent background will scoff at that. And maybe they were with virgins. You know what I mean? So I don't know. So I think that'll be all over the board. I'm curious to see what numbers did you come up with from that question.
Yeah, I will. I'll let you guys know. Thanks, man.
Yeah, holla at you, bro. Yep. Peace.
All right, peace. All right, good. Let me see what we got here in the chat. We have. Let's give Tony a shot here. All right, Tony, what's good? I'm going to throw you the question. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can.
Good. Okay, let me throw you the question. So, yep, you've got the choice of dating, get into a long-term relationship with one of 2 30-year-old women. They're both twin sisters, identical, both gorgeous. You've got a divorced single mom of 3 small children, notch count of 2. She married her husband at a very young age of 20, or her twin sister that spent her 20s running around, partying, committing to none of these guys, traveling, and racking up a notch count of 50 plus. Which one would you choose and why?
At first, I chose the mommy, and then later on, I chose the promiscuous woman. Reason being, I have children myself, and I have children myself. So I thought at the time that it would be safer, to have another parent figure, or another parent to be in a relationship with. Soon to come find out, as the gentleman was talking about earlier, the amount of time that needs to, for interactions, just to be together, to go on dates, and so on and so forth. Even for us, it's a lot different. We don't always get the children. Children are always with mainly the mother, or whoever's taking care of the children on the mother's side, on the mother's time. So whether that be her or anybody else from the family. So I found it kind of difficult to do that. And sure enough, there was a whole lot of them that were just riddled with attitude. I know a whole lot of them are not like that. I believe I had spoken to you, Jaren and Moff, on a question regarding, I guess, expanding my my radius in search of a plate. So I did that, and I find it a lot easier now to have things scheduled a few days in advance and then go on a date. You're easily able to schedule out if you need to with work or time with children, with somebody who's not, not particularly having children or any of that sort. And I did go with a promiscuous here and there, but I find it a lot easier as a parent, to do that rather than to deal with somebody who's riddled with attitude, boss queen, or the kids are my whole world kind of deal.
Okay. So let me just sort of follow up with that, get some clarity on your dating marketplace. So what percentage of available women that you've dated or seen out there fall into both of these two categories? Because of course you can have, a 33-year-old gal that's got no kids, and maybe a notch count of 3 too, right?
I would say
out of those two categories, what do you got?
I would say about 70-30, 70 being single moms and 30 being single woman.
Okay, got it. All right, man. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Thanks. Take care. All right. Let's give it to Chad. We got a Chad in the house. We always get a Chad in the house. What's up, Chad?
How you doing, Rich? Pleasure speaking to you. My name is not Chad. I work in big tech, so this is an anonymous name.
No problem. We're gonna go with Chad. It's a good choice. Let me just pose a question to you, and I'll give you an opportunity to answer it. So you've got 2 identical 30-year-old twin sisters, both absolutely gorgeous. Who would you rather be in a relationship? One's a divorced single mom of 3 small kids, notch count of 2, got married at the age of 20 with her husband, and you've got her promiscuous sister that spent her 20s running around, partying, traveling, not committing to anybody, and racking up a notch count of 50 plus. Who would you choose for an LTR?
Yeah. So every woman I meet has a notch count of over 50. I'm 25. I live in the States, and I've also lived in Canada for a bit. And yeah, every woman I meet over 50. And what's interesting is this. One time I was at a bar, and I had met this girl who was with her boyfriend. Long story short, her boyfriend ended up being a loser, and I ended up taking the girl from the boyfriend. But then, when she was really drunk, she was telling me that she had a child back home. And I have never in my life been as disgusted by anything I've ever heard in my life.
So she had a child back home and a boyfriend, and you stole her from their boyfriend with the child back home.
Yeah.
Okay. So, sorry, which one would you choose? Divorced single mom or a single woman?
Team whore all the way.
Team whore. Interesting. In your dating marketplace where you live, I think you said like almost all girls you've dated have notch counts. But if you were to combine a single mom and the single promiscuous women into one category, what percentage do they represent of available women to date where you live?
Probably, I don't know too many single mothers, but I do know a lot of women that they have a notch count over 50. Yeah, I'd say it's mainly that. But also, I live in a big city in the States, so and I mainly associate with people like in their mid to late 20s. So
mid to late 20s, and they already have a notch count of 50.
Yep, very common.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, appreciate you chiming in. Thanks, Chad.
Thank you so much, Rich. You're one of my inspirations.
Right. Appreciate it. Thanks. All right. Well, this is interesting. This is interesting. We're getting both sides here. We're getting some good explanations on both sides. Interesting to see what, like, we've heard from guys throughout most of the states, Israel, Mexico. The total count of gals available out there can be 30-40% in places like Mexico, or as high as 70-80% in other places where you don't really have much to choose from. I mean, I didn't put option 3, obviously, in this because the point of the survey was, would you rather be with a promiscuous gal or a single mom? And most people in writing, 61%, in fact, chose the single mom. So I'm going to get into the comments and that in a little bit, and I'll take some call-ins on any topics after that as well. Let's do one more here. So let's give it to let's give it to Rico. Let's give it to Rico. Rico, how you doing, buddy? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you, Rich.
Okay. So the question, I'm going to pose it to you again. 2 identical 30-year-old twin sisters, both absolutely gorgeous. Who would you rather be in a long-term relationship with? One is a divorced single mom with 3 small kids with a notch count of 2, married her husband at 20, or her twin sister that spent her 20s partying, traveling, racking up a count of 50 plus. Which one would you pick?
It might seem weird because I'm only 26, but I would choose a single mom. And that's based off some experience too.
Okay.
I just feel like it shows more femininity for you to be able to be a single mom. And rather than like being a hoe, that's almost like masculine, in my opinion, going out in the streets. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, as long as they're a good mom. Now, if they don't care about their kids, that's a different story. But
have you ever dated a single mother before?
Yeah, for 9 months. It ended pretty terribly because the ex came back in the picture, baby daddy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Have you read my book? Because I got a chapter on that topic too. I'm just wondering if you've covered it all.
No, well, yeah, I read it, but not. I read it after that whole thing happened. So.
Okay, got it. All right. Well, it's interesting that you picked that, and appreciate your feedback on that. Follow-up question. So in your sexual marketplace, like where you date right now, if you were to blend those 2 categories, single moms plus promiscuous women, what do they represent on the available women to date where you live? Percentage-wise.
Yeah. So I would say like 80% notch count, 20% single mom.
So you're saying 100% of the available women are either single moms or promiscuous?
Oh no, just between those 2. But actually, I'm dating mostly, like I said, I'm 26, so I'm mostly dating girls in college, and I would say their notch count isn't crazy high, and they're also not mothers. So. Got
it. Okay. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right. Oh, I forgot to throw out Moff's question. Where's your shirt? Yeah, it's always funny. There's always a show, from time to time where you get the guys calling in shirtless. I wonder what would happen if I did an all-ladies show. Would I ever get a shirtless lady calling in? Probably not, right? Ladies don't do that. Let's see here. Okay, we have. All right, I think we've hit on this from the call-in perspective. So what I'm going to do is I just want to go through some of the written responses to the survey, because in writing, when people did the written survey, the vast majority of people picked the single mom option. And most of the call-ins tonight seem to have, flipped it, and we're on Team Whore, basically, as Jaren so eloquently put it. So let me just grab this and throw it up on the screen, and we'll dig into a couple of the comments, and then we'll take call-ins on anything after that. Okay, here we go. Let's see what we got here for comments. So this guy Jesse said, so picking another man's save game, or the chick who's possessed more DNA than an FBI crime lab. Sounds incredibly rewarding. So that was the point of the survey, is to present a difficult choice, because that seems to be what most men have the option to deal with, especially when they're older. Like if you're over 30 or 40, this is basically what you have to choose from. Maybe if you're in your 20s, you can avoid both of them for the most part. But it's not a great choice. So, this guy's basically like, it's a pass. This guy would rather play Call of Duty Modern Warfare. This guy says, keep looking. Neither. I would rather die alone. Neither. Two bad choices. Walk away from both. Neither. No offense, but not even close to what I want. Neither. I'd pursue better options. Tough choice, but single mom. Body count 2 means to me she is likely a widow. Take my chances over a Ferris wheel. Siege says, neither of them. Sorry. If I really love the second one, maybe. Sorry, I never date single moms. Lee says, by relationship, I'm guessing you're referring to a long-term relationship. In that case, yes, I'd pick the single mom so long as the three kids are from one man. Maybe he turned out to be a drunk, abuser, loser, and she finally had enough. High notch count is far greater red flag, in my opinion, for an LTR. Easy option 1, this guy picked. Going to work a lot harder. This is a good option, but twin. Okay, this guy wants twins. He likes the twins idea. Neither. Depends on the race of the children. If they're all my similar race, then there be less social awkwardness. So single mom. Like asking a Muslim to choose between ham and bacon. Okay. You did not say what type of relationship. This guy created his own survey, said neither. Easy answer, neither. It's like asking a vegan if they want full fat or skim milk. Okay, so point made, right? Gotcha. So I said earlier that I would, share with you what I thought of this survey with the 2 options from my perspective, and I'm gonna have I'm gonna have to throw the dice in on Team Horror. Actually, you guys know my take on dating single moms. Play them, don't date them is basically the extent that I would offer any kind of recommendation on. There's one exception which I wrote about in the chapter in my book that might make sense. So if you guys have read my book, you know it. If not, it's available on Amazon, the Unplugged Alpha. But I have an entire chapter that breaks down why you should generally stay away from single mothers. They're incredibly bad choices for men, especially in long-term relationships, for a variety of reasons. You can dig into that chapter in the book. But the problem with the 50+ notches is the chances of her forming a healthy pair bond to you for a long-term relationship is going to be pretty slim. We talked about this earlier with one of the other guys, but look, if she's been with 50 guys and something doesn't go her way and she throws a hissy fit, it's very easy for her to go, okay, Rich, well, you're guy 51. I'm just going to move on to guy 52, because they just don't stick around. Believe it or not, the statistics are incredibly bad. So if you're a gal and you've been with more than 2 to 3 guys, the chances you being unhappy or disproportionately unhappy in a divorce, the chances of having anxiety, the chances of having suicidal thoughts, the chances of being a single mom go up dramatically as the notches go up. So they make pretty bad choices for long-term relationships. The point being, with the survey really was to just demonstrate that this seems to be what most men have to choose from. Having to choose from one of those 2 options, I would have to go with Team Horror because I just don't deal with single moms in long-term relationships. But I'm going to tell you this right now. You do have a 3rd option, which is neither of these 2, which is dealing with women that are more of a complement to your life, then going to complicate it like either one of these 2 options. But you have to be of a high enough value to be able to exercise those options, right? You don't want to deal with disagreeable, lady 2, sister 2, twin sister 2, the single but the promiscuous one, because this is the one that most guys seem to have picked on this show. She is going to be a handful. Okay. She's going to be hard for her to pair bond to. She's probably going to be a boss girl. She's probably run through a lot of guys. She could have STDs. Never know. Sometimes, stuff like that can pop up later on down the road. She could cheat on you. The chances of her, betraying your trust if you commit to her in a long-term relationship goes up, the more guys that she's been with. So the best ROI, as I always say, is chase excellence, not women. Double down on yourself. Don't make, women your first priority or even your second priority. Make yourself and chasing excellence your priority. Date women, spin the plates, let the cream rise to the top, let her come to you and say, where do we stand? And then if you really want to, then you can decide to do something later on down the road, you know, LTR, raise a family, whatever it happens to be for you, right? But chasing, like if 60, 70, 80, 90% of the gals in your dating marketplace amount to one of these two options, if you're 30, 40 plus, for example, you do have option 3, which is spend more time on yourself, spend less time with ladies like this, or just limit your dating to maybe FWBs, you know, where you don't make any kind of a long-term commitment, so you don't invite crazy into your life or invite levels of chaos into your life. And, you know, if some nicer girls show up that don't have any problems or any of these issues, consider it then. That's my point. Anyway, it's a dilemma. It's a dichotomy that most men, you know, seem to face, you know, from what I've heard anyway. So let's run the ad reel and we'll take questions on anything. This episode is brought to you by the Unplugged Alpha Supplements and Grondike Soap Company. Brothers, if you're like me and you take what you put in your body seriously, you'll want to use the Unplugged Alpha Supplements. An obsession with absorption is what sets this line apart from the others. You want to make sure that you absorb as much of the supplements as possible so you don't end up peeing out expensive urine. My supplement line is made in the United States from the highest quality domestic ingredients. And unlike cheaper supplements from China in plastic bottles, mine ship in dark glass bottles to keep your supplements fresher, longer, and won't seep endocrine disrupting plastics into your supplements. Nothing is a hard tablet. Everything is in an easily digestible, bioavailable capsule. You can filter all products by various categories, including testosterone support, estrogen metabolism, fat burning, immune health, sleep support, and performance. Visit theunpluggedalpha.com/shop and use the subscribe and save option to get 10% off your supplement orders, or use coupon code ALPHA10 for 10% off a one-time order to try it out. And I use Tactical Soap and God of War beard oil every day. Tactical Soap is a handmade product made in the United States from ingredients you can actually pronounce, not conventional endocrine lowering toiletry chemicals. Both the soap and the beard oils are infused with bioidentical pheromones that are designed by a clinical psychologist and pheromone expert to maximize attractiveness to the opposite sex. Go visit coopersoap.com and get 10% off your order today. Guys, check out my website at richcooper.ca for more information on booking me for coaching, my community, my courses, and a whole bunch more. You can also find all the useful links pinned below in the top YouTube comment of all my videos. Now let's get on with the show. All right, we're back. All right, guys, thanks for your patience. The call-in link is pinned at the top of the YouTube live chat. I keep forgetting to do this, but I'm just going to copy and paste YouTube link. So if you guys are watching this on Facebook or Twitter or Twitch or anywhere else, click that YouTube link, come on over, hit the like button, and join the conversation with the live podcast there. Again, the link to join is pinned at the top. It says join and share your vote. We're past the vote share part, but you guys can ask any question you want now, or if you still want to chime in on this topic, that's cool too. All right, we got Son of Krypton here who wants to have a quick chat. Son of Krypton, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Rich, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir, I can. Long
What
time
do you got for me
listener.
tonight?
I've also heard your audiobook, and yeah, man, you have literally changed my life as far as when it comes to women and finances. Coming back to the question, I think neither of them are a good choice, and
They're terrible choices, actually. Yeah.
terrible choices. So I think for any high-value man, especially in 30s or 40s, I think your health and your finances should be the top reasons for you to go about
Yeah.
in life.
So let me ask you this question. So where you live in your dating marketplace, if you blend those two options together, so women with children or women with a high notch count, what percentage of available women on the dating marketplace do they represent?
I would probably say about 80% would be single mothers and 20% would be girls who just bounce around.
Well, sorry, just to be clear, if you were to blend the two, so single moms and promiscuous women, so you've got women that aren't single moms or aren't promiscuous on the other side, what percentage of women do these two categories represent in total?
Probably about 60%.
Okay. So you've got some options, right? But how do you tap into that 40% of gals out there that don't bring another man's kids in tow, or don't bring baggage from being with 50, 60, 100 guys, right?
Yeah.
The answer to the question is, like we said from the get-go when you first chimed in, is become a better version of yourself, reinvest in yourself, and then your options expand.
Yeah, that's true. You're
All right.
absolutely right.
Appreciate you hopping in. Thanks, man. All right. We got Scott here. Let's give Scott a shout. Scott, what do you got for me tonight, my friend?
Hey, Richard, I got a question for you. I'm 68 years old, and what is my place in the sexual marketplace? You guys never talk about my age, or am I just out the pasture?
I got a couple guys in my community that are in their 60s. So what's your question for me, Scott?
What's my place? Am I in the game?
No, it's just that I obviously need to appeal to the core audience, and that's also the core group of guys that generally call into my show. Like the average guy watching my show is about 35, so I'm not
Right.
trying to run shows that are trying to appeal to 67-year-old guys. But if you have a question for me, I'm happy to take it.
Well, I'm a single guy, divorced, and I'm in the game to get remarried. Not remarried, but a long-term relationship. So I was just wondering, how does that play with me?
You're how old? You said you're 60?
68.
68. Okay. Well, it looks like you're sitting in a nice car there, Scott. What are you sitting in?
I'm sitting in a Prius.
A Prius.
Yes, sir.
I was looking at the seat and the window frame, and I was thinking of something else. So you got me. Okay.
Oh.
So, you're 68, and what are you dealing with right now when you're dating women? Like, what are the problems that you're running into?
They don't seem to be that interested for some reason, I guess, or
What
they
age
don't
range are you
really-
dating?
Pardon?
What age range do you normally date in?
Just around my age, actually.
Okay, and you don't find them to be that interested in you. Why?
I'm not sure. It's interesting that they don't. They don't. They're typical single mothers. I mean, mothers single, but the kids are grown, so I'm not
Mhm.
sure why they don't, respond. It seems like they have kids at home. That's where they act. So I was just wondering
think
what's
that-
going on with that.
I think that you're going to run into this with older women in general. Like their kids have grown up, they've been married, they've been divorced, maybe more than once. Their kids are all out of the house by the time they're in their 60s, I would imagine. So
Right.
what do they need a man for? Right. Like that's usually what I hear these women say is like, what do I need a man for? Like, what's a man going to do for me? Right.
Okay.
Because it's usually either financial resources that they can benefit from, or you're going to, show them a good time in the bedroom. Right. So
Right.
usually when they're getting up to that age, they're like, well, what's a guy going to do for me? I've already got money coming in for my ex. The alimony payments are still rolling in. Everything's good. Life is good.
Correct.
Money isn't a problem. Or maybe it's from two exes if she's been married a couple times, if they're smart, sort of thing. And
Right.
there's a large abundant, like there's a lot of young guys out there that like older women because they're easier. And these older women just, like the younger guys because, the theory is they're harder, right? So
Right.
I think that's like one of the two areas that you got to overcome is, are you captivating? Are you interesting? Do you have resources that you can share with her? Or, show her interesting, fun things to do, right? Or
Yes.
how's your bedroom game, right?
Pretty good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's usually those two things. So I don't know, like you'd have to tell me, like what kind of feedback do you get?
Well, they seem to be pretty good, but not really into it. I'm not sure if because of their age or not. They tend to be harder and less agreeable, of course. But then also, what do you think? What age range do you think I should seek in terms of relationships?
In terms of relationship, I mean, I would go as young as you can. That's that's willing to enter your frame and have fun with you. 40s, 50s, maybe.
Okay. Right. Okay. Sounds great. Thank you so much.
All right, man. I'll let
All
you know
right.
when I get there. I'm not quite there yet. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Scott. See ya. Yeah, I got a few decades to go before I'm, getting to that point. But look, I mean, I've got a guy in my community. He's in early 60s. I think he's 62. Very, very good shape. Good looking guy. Takes care of himself. Has some game challenges, but overall he's pretty good. Um, Dates pretty much any age range he wants. If he wants to date 50-year-olds, he can. If he wants to date 20, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, he can. Connection, I think, is going to be harder for like the guys that are looking for long-term relationships, especially when you're 60s. They may come, they may not come. It seems to be the goal of older guys, though, is like, if you're in your 50s or 60s or somewhere in that range, they seem to be like, I just want a girlfriend, I want a relationship. And I think that if you can fill that cup with male friendships, with men, and do cool shit with men, then you're not going to worry so much about having a long-term relationship or a girlfriend sort of thing. That's just my advice. Find tribes of men. I obviously have my community. People sometimes say, why don't you ever talk about it? Well, okay, there it is. You can learn more from that point over there. Start there. All right, we got a few more callers here. Got some time to take, probably about 3 or 4 more. All right, looks like we have a gal on the line. Let's give it to Liz. How you doing, Liz?
Hi, good night. Thank you for receiving me. I have a question for you. Well, I am a single mom, and a few weeks I saw that you make a question, or well, not a question, but you make kind of a comment that says that single moms make beta men. So I wanted to ask, what things do I have to do to make my son an alpha, and how can I what things do I have to make so he can be a better man?
Okay, so just so I understand your question, so you're a single mom, you've got a son. How old is he?
He is 5 years old.
And his father, where's his father?
His father is in another state, and they don't have any relationship.
Okay, so he doesn't get to see his father?
They don't talk to each other. No, not because of me. It's his decision.
Okay, I see. So do you have a strong, virtuous father that's nearby, or a brother that can, play the role of a stand-in dad, like an uncle for him?
Yes, I have my father. He's a good I think he's a good man, and that he's strong, and he can teach a lot of things
So
that he can learn.
okay, yeah, so he needs to be taught how to become a man by being around men, right? Like kids watch what adults do, and they listen to very little of what they say, especially when they come teenagers. Like if you want to see how little a kid listens to you as a parent, wait till they turn into a teenager. Like wait till they hit puberty, right? So allow him opportunities to spend time with your dad. Do you have any brothers that are close by?
I have a brother, but he lives in another state, so he really doesn't see him a lot. But when they talk to each other on, I don't know, like a phone call or something, they play like they talk about dinosaurs or space or cars, and I think that is something that I try to tell and talk to him about, but I think it's better when it comes from a man.
Got it. Why doesn't the father want anything to do with your son?
I don't know. He just well, I think he has a perception that he doesn't want to be a father, so he just disappeared from our lives. Like a lot of time ago. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. 4 years ago, he disappeared.
Okay, but
because
you
he
guys were
wanted
together
to
for the
make
first year, like he
his
was
own
with the
life.
child? Sorry, he wanted to make his what?
No, we were. Sorry.
Sorry, he wanted to make his what?
No, we were together. Like I was his girlfriend and he was my boyfriend, but we were not together, like living together or something. We meet, but we always live in different states.
Oh, okay. So it was like more of a hookup then.
Yeah, I mean, we were on a relationship when I got pregnant, but then after we
Okay.
never like were living together or something. Yes.
Okay, so it ended up you just picking the wrong guy. So my recommendation for a kid
Yes.
that's 5 is there's probably there's probably an opportunity for him to get some exposure to men and other boys in something like Boy Scouts. I would probably put him in that. And then when he gets a little bit older, maybe about 6 or 7. I mean, you could even start him now at 5. Like I see small children at the dojos too. Bring him to some karate dojo and let him learn how to fight. Let him, get into combat with other kids. Let him learn how to defend himself. It's an incredibly useful tool, and it's probably one of the most masculine pursuits that boys without fathers can get into. Those would be my 2 main recommendations: grandfather and get him into Boy Scouts, and probably some kind of dojo, some sort of combat sports.
Oh, okay. Actually, he really likes box, and he wants
Put him in boxing
box classes, so I will do it.
Good.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much
Thanks,
for
Liz.
your advice.
Take care. All right, let's give it to Ivan. What's up, buddy? You're on. You're muted. You're gonna have to unmute yourself.
So hey, big fan of your book. I read it every once in a while.
Cool. What do you got for me tonight?
More than once. For example, for me, if I was to say anything, I have a vasectomy. I had my first vasectomy when my vasectomy, the only one, when my son was 2. Divorced the mom, myself divorced, and one of the values that was always instilled in me was having family, and basically keeping family was a big deal. So I don't know, what would you say to somebody like, for example, my situation, considering family and long-term relationships, when chances are this vasectomy cannot be reversed?
You've already got kids, though, right?
2, 16, and the boy is 13.
And you want more kids? Is that what you're saying?
More than anything, trying to attach to family, or I guess it is more like the value that there is behind family. So I don't know if it's always necessary to have a wife, but what would you think are some of the considerations I should have?
Okay, so I'm not sure I understand what the ask is here. So you've already got 2 kids. You've had a vasectomy. What is the problem that you're trying to deal with?
For a person that is heavily oriented, family oriented, should I just simply focus on my kids that are biologically mine? Is that what you think would be the best choice?
Are you still with the kid's mother, or you're divorced?
I am divorced. I've been divorced
How old
for
are you?
about 3 years.
How old are you?
33.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, I mean, if you want more kids, then you're going to have to get it reversed. Obviously, I mean, there's a chance that you can get it reversed. There's other ways, to deal with pregnancy, but I mean, you got to roll the dice now, man. You can go out and have some fun and do whatever you want. So you've got kids, be in their lives. Like, do you have shared custody? Do you see your kids a lot?
About 50-50 when I am in town. Right now, I'm in military training, so I am a teacher, and I do get to see them. About 50-50, no child support.
Invest in your kids then, right? I mean, you've already, you've passed on your DNA, you've done your duty, you've scattered your seed. So invest in those kids, be the kid's father, show them what a man is, do manly things with them. If you want more kids, and that's something that you can contemplate, if you want later on down the road, but invest in the ones that you have right now. I mean, like, the question about family and kids and vasectomy and all that sort of stuff is kind of irrelevant unless you've got good mother stock that you're entertaining. You know what I mean? Like, is she a good woman that's going to be a good mother? Is she the kind of gal that, you vetted for red flags? You've been with her for a while. You know what she's all about. The relationship's been tested. You've tested her for stress. She's got the bright triad traits, not the dark triad traits. Like, then maybe you can have a conversation about, okay, well, can I reverse the vasectomy? Can I have kids another way, right? Can we do it under a microscope and a petri dish sort of thing, right? But that doesn't matter right now because you don't have that option, right? You're not dealing with mother stock. You're not saying, hey, Rich, I've been dating this girl for 2 years and she's you know, the sun, moon, and the stars, and everything's perfect, and she has no red flags, and you know, there's this question coming up now. That doesn't matter. Now it's like, okay, you've scattered your seed, you got the kids, invest in the ones that you have, and then live your life when you don't have them, right? When they're with their mom.
All righties. Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Rich.
Thanks,
Once
man.
again, Rich, thank you for the book. Big fan. I promote it every time I get a chance.
Thank you. And guys, if you've read the book, please on Amazon leave a 5-star written review and just let guys know what value you've got from reading it. It's available on Amazon in print, Kindle, and Audible. Thanks, Ivan. Appreciate it. All right. What do we got here? A couple more calls I think we can take here. Let's see what's going on in the chat. You guys are pretty active tonight. Good to see everybody. Yeah, Jerry says focus on your kids. Yeah, the question about the vasectomy doesn't really matter. I mean, you're not even dealing with a gal that's even going to be qualifiable, good, you know, for mothers. So why does it even matter? Enjoy having the vasectomy, you know, I suppose. All right, let's take a few more here. We got Brandon. Brandon, what do you got for me, buddy? You're muted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. What do you got for me tonight, my man?
How you doing? I just wanted to ask you a question about gaining weight. Like more particularly in the muscle area. So I'm about 6 foot, 160, and I eat a fairly good amount, but I struggle to just keep the weight. So do you have any pointers in that regard?
How old are you?
I'm 20.
Yeah, you're still young, man. You got a fast metabolism.
I'm 20.
That was, look, when I was I'm going to say 17, 18, I weighed about 160 pounds and I'm about 6'2". It wasn't until I was about 21, 22 that I hit about 180, 185 pounds. When you're young and you've got that kind of metabolism like you have right now, which is exactly what I had, you can eat everything all day long.
Right.
And it's very, very hard for you to put on weight and muscle. Right. So do you train right now?
Yeah.
Do you go to a gym?
I don't go to a gym, no.
Okay. Well, if you want to put on size, if you want to put on some muscle, you're going to have to eat like lots of calories, ideally protein, fats, and some carbs. I mean, you can up the carbs because you're skinny anyway, so it doesn't matter, but eat lots of calories, eat 5-6 meals a day, eat throughout the day, and train like 5 days a week. Sleep.
Okay.
That's really all that you have to do. And
all right,
your body will produce more testosterone, more growth hormone when you're sleeping. All that stuff will happen naturally, but you have to lift weights. You're not going to put on muscle if you're not lifting weights. All right.
All right.
Is that all you got for me on this one,
Appreciate
Brandon?
it.
Okay. Thanks, man. Yeah. Definitely gotta pick up heavy stuff and put it down, man. You know, they have those body types: endomorph, ectomorph, mesomorph. I can't even remember what they were. Let's see what the endomorph, mesomorph, ectomorph. Yeah, that's what it was. It's funny. As soon as you Google ectomorph, endomorph, mesomorph, they give you body types with women. Like, this is where Google is going. They don't even give you body types with men. Let me refine this search. Here you go. Where's the chart? They used to have this simple chart. Okay, well, we'll just use the women version then, because that's all they're giving me. See, this is what you guys get now. Freaking Google. So ectomorph is fairly lean. Picture this as men, obviously. You know, you got skinny dude. You're going to have more of a V-taper muscular dude here. And then you got the endomorph, which is like the heavier set, like the power lifter guys, right? This was me when I was a kid. I was just skinny. Obviously, it's fucking pictures here, but you get the idea. Ectomorphs are hard gainers. So you're going to have to eat a lot of calories. You're going to have to lift heavy ass weights, ideally compound movements, bench press, squats, deadlifts, you know, stuff like that recruit lots of muscle fiber, and just go to failure. You know, it's the best advice I can give you if you're a skinny, tall kid. Let me check here in the... So, guys, Oz has a question about red flags. I like red flags. Let's do that question. Oz, how you doing, buddy? You're muted, by the way.
Hey, mate, can you hear me?
Yeah. What's your question you got for me?
Yeah, so Now, in your book, you say it's 20 red flags, and I haven't read the whole book yet, but I'm curious to know because most of the women in Western countries, they're going to have red flags, right? So are there any red flags that the woman can have that she can work on, or a man can accept it? For example, I'll give an example. Promiscuous thing cannot be fixed. Like once it's done, the damage is done. Hissy fits, maybe, someone can work on their attitude and they can fix it. So are there a list of any red flags that they can be fixed?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So if you guys haven't got the red flag chapter here, let me put the banner down at the bottom. So change the ticker. You can opt into my email list, go into entrepreneursandcars.com/red-flags. You can get the red flag chapter for free. There's 20 red flags. So let me just look at my list over here because I've got it in front of me. So there are certain things that can be fixed. And fixing these things, by the way, has to be their choice. You can't say fix this red flag or else. It has to be like the way that I would generally handle it. So let's say that, I don't know, she's the kind of gal that competes with you. Okay. My car's faster than you, my house is nicer than yours, blah blah blah, like that kind of chick. Then all you have to say is, look, Becky, I really like you and everything, but I don't date girls that try to compete with me. That's all you have to say. Now you leave that ball in her court and you plant the seed and let her see if she's going to do something about that. If she's going to protest, if she's going to boss bitch you out and just lecture you, then it's a lost cause. Just let it go. And you should have other options. That's like the whole point of spinning plates. So if you want to be a little more pointed about it, then you can say, look, you've got extreme jealousy issues. I really think that you should see a therapist about that and see if you can fix it, because you're making mountains out of molehills, out of things that don't exist. And I don't date women that are going to, behave like that, sort of thing. Or I'm not going to invite a woman like that into my life on a long-term basis is another way to put it. So again, Oz, it's got to be a choice that they make. It's not something that you can cram down their throat. And there's certain things that they can't change. Like you said, like if she's a single mom, she's not going to change that. If she's got a huge notch count, she can't change that. But if she's the kind of girl that's using Instagram to seek validation and attention online from other people, specifically men, you could tell her, look, I don't date girls that use Instagram to seek attention and validation from other men. You can use
how
it
much
for family.
energy how much energy or how much because you gotta be able to communicate that message across, right? And some girls will respond in a different way. So how many times do you have to reiterate that to a girl that, hey mate, I don't like this thing, or I don't like the girl who's seeking attention, because I know in long term it's going to be detrimental, have a detrimental effect on a relationship. I don't
think that it should be an ongoing conversation. It should be stated. It should be stated firmly, and it shouldn't have to be restated on a continuous basis. I mean, for example, so let's use the seeking attention online, like the Instagram girl. Hey, Becky, I really dig your vibe and everything. I have a lot of fun with you, because she's having the conversation. She's now like, where do we stand? I really like you. You seen anybody else? Okay. Hey, Becky, I really dig your vibe too. I think you're a lot of fun, but I don't invite women into my life that use social media to seek attention, validation from other guys online. So if you want to be with me, you can either make your Instagram private and just use it to post, photographs of family events and stuff like that, like most people do, or you can delete it. Right? That's it. And then see what she does with that. You're too controlling. You've got a small PP, she freaks out. Fuck off. We'll see you later. Go away. I'm done with you. Because you have other options. Right? But a good woman will say, just one more. You're absolutely right.
Look, I think they say it, but they say it for the time being, and they come back with the same. They go back to square one, and they go, okay, maybe the whole thing that I just explained last week didn't resonated with them for too long. So that's where it is. You had a good question today, like the promiscuous woman or the single mom. I've dated both. I wanted to know, was there age bracket for these girls? Like, were they like a 20-year-old single mom or 20-year-old promiscuous girl, or
30-year-old was the question? So identical 30-year-old twins,
30-year-old, definitely the promiscuous girl in that case. Not that she's any good, but if I've only got two options, then that'll be the choice. The one thing I wanted to know, Rich, for the 10% group, you said you started 10% group where people can join in. What's the what do we get for the 10% for people who interested in joining in that 10% group?
Good question. You can go to the website, entrepreneursandcars.com/community, and it's all explained on that page. You're in Australia, by the way. There was a bunch of Aussies that just had a meetup on the Gold Coast. So we do have members there. We don't have a ton, but we do have members there. If you're making over $100,000 a year, then the 1% is a better group for you. If you're a little bit of a younger guy, you're trying to hash out life and some basic details, and the 10% is a good starting place.
Okay. And do we get to ask questions in those calls with you, or?
Not with me. There's monthly Zoom calls with the admin guys. There's 4 admin guys right now. 2 of them are in the live chat, Jaren and Moff. And there's a couple others as well. So they run the Zoom calls. I'm not in the Zoom calls. The 10% is not a group that I run. To be clear, it's run by the admin guys. It's basically a staging area for you guys to graduate up to the next tier, which is the one that I run. Cool.
All right, mate. Thanks very much. Cheers.
All right. Thanks, man. Yeah. We got room for one more, maybe. All right. Let's see what we got in the chat here. Funny as hell topic. Thoughts on naming your son. Can I ask a question about building gender relationship? Okay, let's give it to Brandon. I thought we had Brandon on. Didn't we have Brandon on already? I don't know. Let's see here. Semi-related, add to the topic. Reversals. Okay, let's give it to Scott. Scott, what do you got for me tonight, bud? Scott, do you have a microphone? Scott does not have a microphone. All right. What happened to iComment? He's got a good question here. So one of the questions that showed up here in the oh, here we go. Brandon, he's got a question about genuine relationships. Let's give it to Brandon. There you go. You're muted, bud. Go ahead.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, so thanks for taking my call again. So pretty much this question, I just wanted to ask about like building relationships as a young man, because pretty much since I graduated from high school almost 3 years ago, I haven't really built another or any more genuine, I guess, childhood-ish friendships. And now that I don't really associate with many people from high school, I'm sort of stuck in like this gray area where I don't really have any more people to, I guess, genuinely hang out with. Besides, like, I guess my teammates, I run cross country too, so I have them. But like I said, I'm not really on that level. So I guess the question is, how do I build more genuine relationships as a young man?
How old are you?
20.
Where do you live?
I'm from New York, Buffalo.
Okay. So you run track. What else do you do in your spare time?
So right now I'm currently doing an internship, and I also work a part-time job, and I'm in school full time, so I'm sort of busy.
Okay. So look, I mean, you're going to form genuine friendships and relationships with good men when you're able to test them and they're able to test you. And one of the best ways to do that, I mean, there's a lot of guys will be like, just go out with your friends and Sarge and get girls. Okay, that's kind of one way to do it. It's not the best way, in my opinion. Go and join a dojo, learn how to fight, pick some kind of combat sport, and then you'll find that the guys there, one, they're not pussies. They're mostly alpha males. If anybody is weak, then they usually get weeded out quick, or they level up and they become better. But these are the kind of guys that you want in your life, right? Like you want guys that know how to fight, because if shit ever goes down, you want friends by your side that can got your back, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I find that guys like that are great. Clubs, supercar clubs, obviously, is where I roll. At your age, I would probably find. I mean, if you're a car guy or a motorcycle guy, do you like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I'm into cars a little bit. I have a car. I mean, I'm not like a too big. I watch car videos. I mean, I'm sort of.
So yeah, so don't just sit there consuming content, watching car videos. Join your local Facebook group in Buffalo for whatever car brand you own, right? And then go to the meetups and meet the guys, and go for the drives and have the coffees and maybe do the rallies and stuff like that, right? You're only going to form the relationships if you invest the time into the friendships,
right?
And you start testing them, obviously, and they start testing you. So, testing in the car community could be drag racing. Like that's how we used to test each other when I was your age, right? Like we'd go to the drag strip and it was either motorcycles or cars. When I was riding sport bikes, we drag race sport bikes. We would test each other on the drag strip. The tree would drop the lights. We'd rip it down the strip and the time would come out. And that was the way that we would test each other, right?
Right. All right. Now I get
Men must compete, right? See, because women choose in life, but men must compete.
No, that's a fact.
All right.
You're right. I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, Brandon. Thanks, buddy. See ya. All right. Last one. I'm going to give it to my friend Charles because I just saw him pop in. So, Charles, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, how you doing, Rich?
Good to see you, my friend. So, what do you got for me tonight?
Likewise. Well, regarding the topic of this show, I kind of want to go back because I just started watching it. Me and Vic are actually waiting to go to salsa at about 9. So I thought.
Okay, so let me pose a question for you. So there's 2 identical 30-year-old twin sisters, and they chose 2 different paths in life. Actually, I've got the wrong survey up.
Yeah.
Let me just read this one over here. So they went 2 different paths in life. One is a divorced single mom of 3 small kids. She's got a notch count of 2. Married the second guy very young at 21. Stayed with him. Got divorced. Or her twin sister who spent her 20s running around, partying, traveling, racking up a notch count of 50 plus, not committing to any guys. Which one would you choose and why?
I want to answer with the same answer, but with 2 approaches. So if you recall, when we were at that lake on the Hero Strip, there was a pile of dog shit on the floor. And I noticed it and I said to you, hey, watch, there's a pile of dog shit. Let's just walk around it, right? And move on. So, first thing I would do is not worry too much about why there is a pile of dog shit and what the dog ate and all the details about the dog shit that we have to deal with, which is kind of goes back to what 50 Shade was saying earlier, working on yourself, chase excellence. But another way of approaching the answer is there was a point when the single mom in your question was not a single mom, right? There was a point when she was 21, 22, she was relatively innocent and she wanted to have a family. Maybe she had, according to your hypothesis question, she might have made a mistake, or she divorced the guy, or she was unfortunate, he died and she was widowed. Whatever the cause is for her being a single mother, there was a point she wasn't a single mother, which means you just have to work on yourself and be very patient and figure out where that woman is before she became a single mother and have children with her.
Okay, so you'd pick the single mom.
Well, yeah, if there's no third option, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the third option is the obvious option, which is neither, and just find a gal with a low notch count that doesn't have another man's kids in tow. But that wasn't the part of the survey.
Women were not born with children, right? Somebody put a children in them. So what I'm saying is, you just have to be that person.
Yeah, fair enough, man.
Instead of being somebody's, second sloppy second.
Yes, definitely not the best choice to make. All right. I'm at the 90-minute mark. You guys have fun tonight. Salsa dancing. Enjoy yourselves. We'll catch up with you soon. Okay, brother?
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
See ya. All right. So I guess with that being said, I'm going to wrap up the show. Thanks, everybody that chimed in. It was an interesting show to kind of do it this way. I figured I want to do it more of like a call-in for some more interaction with you guys. If you enjoyed that, let me know in the comments below. And, offer some feedback. Let me know what you want to see other shows done on in the future, and I'll definitely contemplate it. So with that being said, you guys have an amazing night, and we'll see you guys very, very soon. All right, guys, if you enjoyed that podcast, make sure you visit my website at richcooper.ca to learn more about my courses, my book, The Unplugged Alpha, community, or booking me for private coaching. Also, if you are a Canadian with $15,000 or more of credit card debt and what you are doing right now isn't paying off the balances, then visit totaldebtfreedom.ca and hit get a free quote to see if you qualify to settle your credit card debt for less than you owe today over the next 48 months. Make sure you check out the top pinned comment on YouTube for all the links mentioned during the show. Peace.